Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Belzer from Austin B Media, and welcome to a unique interview from South by Southwest 2025. Talking to Liam from corto.alto, composer, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and self-proclaimed jazz head. If you're going to be in Austin for South by Southwest, Liam's going to be playing at the Velveeta Room on March 12th and the British Music Embassy on March 13th. I'll have links to get tickets for those in the description. But welcome, Liam.
Austin, it's nice to chat.
Chat with you too. I don't really get. I know we were talking about this in the pre warm ups or whatever, but I normally don't get the opportunity to talk to musicians a lot.
Yeah, you
Um,
say you cover a lot of film and TV,
mhm.
so that's cool. I'm
Yeah,
I'm honored to be one of the musicians on your website.
crazy. Like I Up by Southwest stuff is crazy because I one day I just opened my inbox and it was like, hey, we're Warner Records. Here's this like press release about Benson Boone's new single, and I'm like, what?
It seems to be because I've this is my first time going to South by Southwest, and it seems to just be a kind of a week of madness.
Is I mean I get 4 emails an hour, so that's like about 100 emails a day. So the last 3 days have just been email after email after email.
I mean, I know a lot of musicians in Scotland that have been to the festival before and played various like showcases and that, and I've heard nothing but good and fun things, and I'm excited to eat barbecue food and check out some music. And it's currently like 4 degrees in Glasgow, so I'm excited to get in some sun.
Yeah, it's
That's,
like 70 in Austin right now, I think. So
oh,
yeah.
you're Fahrenheit, so I'm what's seven
Oh,
Celsius in
so
what's like
what would
four.
that be?
Think like 20, I think the way I remember it is 28 degrees is 82 Celsius. That sounds nice to me wherever you are. So
Yeah,
it sounds better than here anyway.
better than single digit. But yeah, thank you again. Let's talk about like your music. You describe your music as like a blend of traditional jazz with modern digital influences.
Yeah.
You, I said earlier, self-proclaimed jazz head. Did the internet shape your sound?
I was always kind of into so much music growing up. I really listened to a lot of like 90s hip hop when I was younger. So Tribe Called Quest, so stuff like this. And I was like really into that as a kid. But at the same time I was kind of doing the classic, playing an instrument in band and in school. So them kind of worlds ended up, together. And I wasn't a kid who kind of didn't enjoy playing music. I really did love playing jazz and stuff, especially since I started playing trombone. Because I started playing guitar and bass first, and then when I moved on to trombone, it was kind of a whole new thing. And reading music and playing in a big band and playing in a trombone section, playing with other musicians more. I think that was like the kind of turning point for me musically. And then as I got older, I got into production and really love electronic music, UK dance music. I suppose the UK's got a lot of it's this there's a rich culture of jungle music and broken beat and house and a lot of that music's influenced by American music, especially Black American music. So I suppose for me it's just like I've always had very varied interests, and when it came to making my own stuff, I suppose everything just came out. It wasn't really intentional. I wasn't going like I want to make jazz with soul or drum and bass and jungle. I just kind of write music, and I suppose every artist is just what they output is just a kind of big of what you've kind of taken in the whole over the years. So yeah, I suppose.
I That's a great answer. Because I think we are our influences. Like I always say, my movie and TV reviews are rooted in reading the newspaper reviews.
Yeah,
Growing up in the newspaper, like that little short blurb where uh, they have the snappy headlines and, the star rating comes from
yeah,
that and a lot of that. So yeah, I totally get that.
yeah.
Um,
But I suppose, yeah, talking of movies and film and stuff as well. I've always been into, I've been a big fan of both of them things. So I think as well, like growing up, you come from not just listening to that kind of intentionally listening to music. There's music all around, and I think yeah, I was always absorbing that.
Sure. I want to key in on like I know you said you it wasn't like an intentional thing to be did like this jazz and modern digital thing. I find it so interesting because I know other artists in the jazz space have kind of talked about jazz kind of going through its second age, so to speak. I know artists like Lavi have talked about, really wanting to bring the genre back. And I'd love to hear jazz, I think, was ever really dead. Hear your thoughts on, the revitalization of the genre.
Yeah, I think there is definitely, as I've been working as a jazz musician, I've been doing it since I was 16, and I graduated college when I was 16, so I was very young, and I've been working since then. And even since then, it's kind of had such a resurgence in just the kind of, I don't know, the capacity of audience that audience that you can have. I think, in the UK, I suppose I can speak for the UK more than, because I'm not really clued up on the American scene as much. But in the UK, we have We Out Here Festival, which is a massive, massive music festival. It's really based in jazz, and we have loads of venues and loads of promoters and loads of, yeah, that kind of promote jazz and jazz radios. And I think all of that together mixed with kind of maybe that Spotify and streaming has been quite terrible for a
Sure.
lot of artists. But I think one kind of positive side of it is that algorithms are driving people to listen to what they like, and what they actually like is music that's more in the jazz area. I suppose yeah, I suppose my music's not traditional jazz, but there's definitely that influence. Whereas before, the radio was kind of telling you what to listen to, and you wouldn't have been exposed to a lot of that music. And I think that's kind of been one of the positives from us streaming and from algorithmic kind of curation in music. Yeah, I think as well. Yeah, just the artists who have kind of D'Angelo and Robert Glasper and these kind of American artists who reintroduced jazz into a lot of their music and took it really interesting places. Kind of just inspired a whole generation of people to do the same and to bring in their influences and to I live in Scotland, and there's a bunch of guys who make Scottish folk jazz, which is like really really cool. Because every kind of locality has a different thing that they can blend with their approach, their musical approach, if they're a jazz musician. So yeah, it's super exciting time. And to me, jazz kind of is more of an approach to making music than it is, than like, rock and roll. Like, that's clearly a genre to me, but jazz is very kind of, I don't know, fluid, and it's kind of harder to put your finger on what it is. So I think it's more of a language and an approach to making music.
It explained a lot about your talk being a language, jazz being a language. I've heard it likened to like kind of like improv is
Yeah,
when you play something, it's going to sound different. You know, whether you playing it live, you might make a different choice of like, oh, I want more trombone here. You have a trombone solo, you know, somewhere, and instead of whereas maybe in the recording it's further back or
yeah.
something.
Or I mean, we have if we play the same, we play a lot of the same music, obviously, when we go on tour, but we change the set list, and we never play the tracks the same length ever, really, because they're very open, and sometimes there'll be a sax solo, sometimes there'll be a trombone solo, sometimes the intro will be 5 minutes, sometimes it'll be 30 seconds long. It just like it changes, and I think that's what's kind of keeps me sane. Last year we did 90 shows almost. I never got bored of playing that music because, when you're playing with people that you know and you kind of can take risks with, and you feel really confident playing with, you just end up like, purposely tripping each other up and playing you're basically just playing with the music. And I suppose it's like playing music. I suppose that phrase is so used that you kind of forget that the word it plays in there. We always try to remember that, and we're always trying to like, I don't know, just have this kind of lightness to your approach and not be so like rigid in I also think like music live is like stakes are very low. You know, like if something goes wrong, no one gets hurt, no one dies. It's like you're all good. So I always try to remember that as well. It's people are there to have a good time, and if things go wrong, like we're sort of gonna they're gonna go wrong sometimes. I have to have a lightness to it, and that's I suppose that's what keeps it fun for me. Um, and not taking it too seriously.
That's a that's a great way to put it. Play being part of it. Yeah, I would imagine. You said playing 90 shows. I would imagine, like if I think of some of these pop stars who are singing the same songs for like
Yeah,
years, and I'm like, I don't think I could do that just singing the same song. I'd be like, all right, I gotta get in the studio to
yeah.
immediately make a new song because I don't want to sing this anymore.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's so true, and I think it's funny how yeah, I always I feel the same when I see kind of one of these like massive legacy artists playing that same, they play the same hits for 50 years, and you're like, oh, but that's why like some of the best artists, you go to their show and they're playing the songs completely differently, and then half
mhm.
the audience hates it, but they don't care because they're like, I'm not gonna, they still want to play the music, but they want to like keep it fresh and do it in different ways. That's kind of a sign of a really, like someone, an artist that's like not complacent is someone who, you go to their show and because I don't see the reason why the music has to be the same live as it is recorded. Like my music's just completely different live. So I think if it was for me, it's like if someone wants to listen to the record, they can do that anytime they want. But if we're going to, like next week, we're flying to the US, it's like for me, it's like a big opportunity to play in front of new people and go to a new place and check out. I just I wouldn't want to go there and just give them an album version of our track. So it's gonna be head. I think it was funny when people will go, "Oh, what was that like third last song you played?" And then you tell them, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's kind of nothing like that. If you're gonna go to listen, I suppose, yeah, it obviously is very similar, but well, in terms of it's the same composition, but I think you have to do that, and yeah, as an artist as well, it just keeps things fresh.
I think that comes to a personally held belief of mine that I developed like 10 years ago or 10 or 15 years ago. And I bought their album. I first listened, I was like, oh, this sucks. This is awful. And then I listened to it a second time, a third time, and then a fourth time. And I'm like, wait, I really like this. And in fact, I like that idea you have of play because um, I was listening to one of your tracks your publicist shared with me, and it's dynamic, 7 minute song. It just changes like into like three different. I really like that idea of play that you mentioned earlier
Yeah, I
because
think yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I think it's also relevant not just live but in the studio. Having this kind of freedom to go anywhere. I suppose that's what playing is. It's just like having this, not having a preconceived like rigid feeling about how a piece of music or a piece of art is going to be at the end. Instead, just like going and kind of going along with everything. And I think I do that a lot in my productions. Like if I've got an idea for a tune and then I come across something completely random, whether it's like a weird little synth sound or snare sample or rhythm or melody or chord progression, just kind of if something like tickles my ear and something's like, oh, I'm like, that's cool. Just like following that. And even if it's a dead end and I have to go back an hour, like not really being caught up and not going, oh, that was a waste of time. That's because none of it's a waste of time. Like all of it is the part of the whole process of it. And that includes making music that's bad. Like I do that all the time. I make music and then listen to the end of the day. I'm like, that's terrible. But then like, you can't get to the good stuff unless you constantly do that. And I think the most detrimental thing you can do for creativity is when you get into a position where you've spent hours and hours, grafting on something to make it good, and then you listen to it, and you take a break, you go back and listen to it, and it sounds like shit. Do is like attach that to your whole kind of artistry and your personality. And the best thing you can do is just like laugh and go like, oh well, because if you put yourself off, you're just never gonna find them good ideas. And it's just about doing it over and over and over again until, and then I suppose the good ideas come more the more you do it. But yeah, not kind of attaching yourself on them bad ideas, I would say.
I think I, th- that's a great answer, and I think it's so important. I think in the production process because I think some artists are actually afraid to make that big leap. I'll listen to an artist
Mm.
before because I'm like, you're not taking a creative risk with this album. You're doing the same thing you did 2 albums ago or 3 albums ago. I'd love to hear actually about the production process of an album. What's that like? I know you talked a little bit about it, like having bad songs and just playing with synths and things like that.
Just the process of for me making music is just make loads of music and then and then kind of I can go into what that means in a second, but I think the general process is for me is just like I go through a period, whether it's 2 or 3 months of every day I'm making 2 tracks minimum, maybe sometimes 5 tracks. If depends on how much time I've got and what else I'm doing, but I'll make music for months and months and then usually leave it alone for a little bit and I'll have a huge folder and then listen to everything and go, oh, that's cool. Oh no, yeah, and then try and find how I piece it all together and start to like create a narrative of an album, like a sonic narrative of like how I imagine what that album would be like. I start a lot of stuff by sampling is quite a I suppose this is why my music's quite influenced by hip hop because I really love using sampling and not sampling other records but sampling things that I've made. So I'll maybe like play in a bass part that I've kind of loosely got and then I'll chop it up and sample it and then kind of re-sample that and yeah, so basically just yeah, like I'm talking about playing around, just it could be a rhythm, it could be a little tiny percussion sound, it could be a synth sound like you say. So anything you can get an idea from something. But for me it's more about the can have a B flat, but it could be a B flat in the most interesting synths you've ever heard, like really, really, and then that can inspire a groove, and that's where I kind of like to start. I suppose for me as well, I like to imagine what something would be like, and not, but like I said before, not strive for that. But at the start, you're kind of like, what does that note sound like on that synth? Like, what kind of groove feeling is that given? Is that like an evil sound? Like, and then the groove and the bass line should be kind of evil together with it, or they could be juxtaposed, or all these kind of questions you have at the start. Million roads to go down with everything, and that's the kind of terrifying thing of making music. It's just like there's endless possibilities, and that's also the exciting thing because there'll never be a day where all the music's been made. Um, so yeah, I suppose without getting really technical yet, that's kind of how I do it. And it could be sometimes I'll write a tune on guitar, sometimes I'll write on piano or trombone, but it always kind of comes back to the production thing, and I make a lot of demos, and then I'll bring them to the band, and then we'll play them live, and then I'll record them, and then I'll sample it and chop off, and then maybe record it again, and it just depends. Sometimes it's very easy. Sometimes we record it and that's it done, and sometimes it's record it 3 times and then delete it and go back to the first thing. A mad process, but I hope that answers something.
I really love the part of your answer where you talk about sampling your own music because I don't think that's something that really happens. Usually when somebody samples something, they're like, about somebody else's music for
Mm.
maybe like a beat or something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, just to use a recent example, Luther Vandross song in one of his GNX tracks. So yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. I don't think I've heard of that before, sampling your own music.
Every album of mine, obviously apart from the first one, I've kind of sampled the previous record. I think it's more just when I get to something and I go, oh, what could that do? And then I go, oh wait, I've got this little synth sound in that previous album that I really liked, and I'll just because that's the thing for me. I'm just like, I don't really care about reusing stuff like that because I think it's if and it's always disguised, and sometimes it's more obvious than others. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And also, it's not. I suppose it's not royalty free if you're on. It is if you're on one label and then you sample a record from another label for. But you just have to disguise it, I would say.
Maybe like down a key or something like that, or
Down a key or reverse it or slow it down or chop it up. Hell, yeah, we're getting into the secrets.
well, I won't make you give too many of your secrets away. Like what if you had like one thing to do next? I would love to hear like what kind of like new thing you'd love to work on, or maybe next album. And by the way, congrats on getting shortlisted for it was a
Mercury Prize.
Mercury Prize last
Yeah.
year for Bad New Names. Congratulations on that, by the way, for the
Um,
shortlist.
that was a cool experience. I think to answer your question, I think my process is very kind of solitude a lot of the time. It's a very solitary process. So I think the Bad with Names, which was an instrumental album, I did 31 away after that, which was a 30 track instrumental album. So I think I want to work more with vocalists and collaborate more and getting more into songwriting and work with rappers and vocalists and singers and other, just like kind of open up my own process of bringing other artists on board. I think that's my priority for the next album, and I'm super excited to do that. And I've already started working on that music, but just trying to let go of the kind of it's trying to let go of being a control freak, essentially. Yeah, that's that. I'll look forward to that.
Oh, I was wondering about that. I was like, you kept saying like solitary process, and you're talking about, hey, I want to collab with other people. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking in my creative brain, I'm like, collabing with other people, that means I have to give up some of the control.
But I think just being open to other people's ideas is where some of my favorite music is collaborative. I think most music nowadays is collaborative, and all of my music is collaborative. I suppose with the art, I don't play everything. I've got a drummer that I play with all the time, Graham Costello. He's an incredible drummer, and all the guys I play with in my band. So I suppose, but I'm more talking about the actual composition and the lyrics and stuff where you kind of have to give up that kind of portion of the of the process to another creative person. So yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be interesting and it'll definitely be an adjustment, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Looking forward to it. I'd love to get your thoughts on, by Southwest 2025. Like you're in it at like a pretty big music festival. I think there's what, like 50 artists or something like that, 70 artists.
I don't even know much about it to be honest, but yeah, kind of bucket list thing to do. I think generally just coming to the US and playing music because American music's just country uh to me. So I think just going there and checking out other artists and just being around a lot of other musicians and I'm just really excited. Yeah, go to the jam sessions, check out other people's gigs, tasty barbecue food. Most man, let's
Yeah.
go.
Um, I hope you have fun at South by, whatever whatever the cool kids call it.
I'm not one of them.
uh, but yeah, I hope you have fun, go to all the parties and stuff like that. I want to thank you for taking you and your publicist for taking the time to
Oh,
uh
no,
and
Austin, thanks
chance.
so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of your website and your blog. So it's a blog, and you do kind of vlog interviews stuff as well.
Mhm. Stuff like
Can
that.
I ask you a couple questions about what your favorite movie? Like, give me three recommendations for films that I wouldn't have seen.
Ooh, I definitely think uh music wise, I think Kneecap was the best musical biopic of 2024.
Okay, cool.
The Irish rap group Kneecap, but it's
Yeah,
also kind of about the death of the Irish language.
okay.
Good one from 2024. I want to say people have probably slept on, right? Just movies.
Shows.
Let's see. Another one I would recommend is I really liked Enora. I really like that. It's
Was that a
about
movie?
a
That movie about the stripper in Miami? That was
yeah,
great,
I
man.
think it's Miami.
I really enjoyed that.
I really liked. It's gonna sound strange, but I liked Billy and Molly and Otter Love Story. It's a Nat Geo documentary about literally what it sounds like. Uh, three movies I'd really recommend to just about anybody.
All right, and last question. I know you're interviewing me, but I've got one more question. What's better, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul?
Seen Better Call Saul.
Oh man, I think it's better than Breaking Bad. That was gonna be my I don't know hot take.
Yeah, my sister keeps trying to get me on it, but I was like, I want to like wait until all of it's out.
And
Yeah, I
it,
know, I know.
it's so good. Please start it if you have time. Better Call Saul. It's excellent, man. Vince, and I'm really excited. Vince Gilligan's releasing a new thing next year, with
Yeah,
Rhea.
for Apple TV Plus. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
I
seen that.
think.
I'm so excited. Rose in Better Call Saul. Rhea Seehorn. She's incredible.
Amazing.
But yeah, check that out. And it's been great to chat to you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
See you at South by where
The Room, March 12th.
that's right.
British Music Embassy, March 13th.
And then we're
Uh,
playing another showcase on March 13th, I believe, after the British Embassy one or before maybe. It's a Scottish showcase. It's all Scottish music. So that's on my Instagram if you want to check that out for details. But come see us 3 times if you want. We're going to play 3 completely different sets. So you can, 3 40-minute sets. That's 2 hours. You can come see us for 2 hours if you want.
all those, all three, four. For
Three, yeah.
I'll have links to all of them in the description of the interview. For taking the time. I hope you enjoy Austin.
Let me know if you're ever in Scotland. I'll show you around.
I'll certainly let you know.
Nice one, man. Peace.
You can find me on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads under my username, Austin B Media, as well as my Discord and Patreon community chat. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like early access to this next interview or more exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/AustinBmedia. For just $3 a month, you get 48-hour early access to my reviews, podcasts, interviews like this one, and articles, plus patron-only channels on my Discord. The $10 a month tier, you'll unlock uncut podcast episodes, exclusive episodes, and more. If you enjoyed this interview, stay tuned for more Slam Dance and South by Southwest 2025 interviews. Until next time.